Imagine walking into a dealership, you're looking at a sticker price, and you just realize the average new car costs $50,000.
Yeah. I mean, for a lot of people, that is not a car payment. That is basically a mortgage.
Exactly. It's like the
Bam.
auto industry has spent a really long time building this sprawling city of luxury penthouses, right? And they've suddenly looked around and realized nobody can actually afford the rent.
Right, which is a huge problem.
It is. So, welcome to Auto News Talk. We are looking at a massive affordability crunch that is just squeezing this entire industry. It's forcing automakers into this complete state of panic and, well, innovation as they desperately scramble to relearn how to build the starter home.
It really is a total reset because building a hyper-expensive luxury vehicle is one thing, but figuring out how to deliver true affordability, that requires changing the DNA of the entire business. You know, you have to change what rolls off the assembly line, how you distribute it, and even the invisible software systems you use to actually sell it.
Right, and that's the terrain we're mapping out for you on this segment of Auto News Talk. We're tracking one continuous story here. Basically how the sheer desperation for cheaper cars is fundamentally rewriting global vehicle lineups, and how that pressure travels all the way down to your local dealership floor where the humans and the algorithms are currently just like tripping over each other, trying to close the deal.
Which is really where the friction is highest. I mean, you can engineer a cheaper car all day, but if the retail infrastructure can't adapt to sell it efficiently, the whole system just breaks down.
Totally. So let's start with the metal itself. Because cars have become wildly expensive, there is this gaping hole at the absolute bottom of the market. And one of our sources highlights a fascinating trend that's kind of hiding in plain sight.
Oh, the sedan thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
This massive price gap is actually breathing life into a format everyone thought was just dead, the sedan. Because despite the total dominance of SUVs out on the road, sedans are still stubbornly holding on to a crucial 15% of the market.
Which is wild. We are talking about millions of vehicles, and, you know, the engine keeping the sedan alive is pure, undeniable math.
Right.
When you look at the research in that source, you see that towering $50,000 average for new vehicles. But then you look at compact sedans cars like the Kia K4 or the Volkswagen Jetta. They're starting right around $22,000.
Oh, wow. 50,000 versus 22,000.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need a degree in economics to see why buyers are flocking to that lower number. These affordable sedans are acting as the ultimate gateway product.
Exactly.
They're pulling in Gen Z, they're grabbing first-time shoppers, and, well, anyone who just needs reliable transportation without taking out a second mortgage.
Right, and while foreign brands are the ones currently dominating this affordable sedan segment, that persistent demand is quietly forcing U.S. automakers to reassess their own strategies.
You can't just ignore it.
No, they realize they can't entirely abandon the bottom of the market. Plus, a sedan naturally offers better aerodynamic efficiency and fuel economy than some boxy SUV, you know?
Right. Sure. Which really lowers the total cost of ownership for a budget-conscious buyer.
Yeah.
The business logic here relies heavily on the customer funnel. If a brand can get a young buyer into a $22,000 Jetta, they build brand loyalty. The hope is that eventually that same buyer graduates into a high-margin, expensive SUV.
Okay, I get the funnel logic, but I have to push back on this a bit because there's a major limitation here that this doesn't answer.
Okay, what's that?
A lower price gets a buyer in the door, but it doesn't change the physics of what consumers actually want to drive. People love the higher seating position of an SUV, right? They love the flexible cargo space.
Sure.
So how is a sedan supposed to overcome that deeply ingrained consumer preference? You can't just, like, price cut your way out of the fact that a sedan sits low to the ground.
No, you can't. That is the structural constraint of the sedan. It will never be an SUV. But this affordability wall, this absolute refusal from consumers to pay penthouse prices, isn't limited to gas-powered cars.
Right, the EV market is feeling it too. Exactly. The electric vehicle market is slamming into the exact same wall, and it's forcing a massive pivot in Europe right now.
Which brings us to what legacy automakers are doing to survive this.
Yeah.
There's some really interesting reporting circulating about Stellantis. They're essentially targeting this affordability crisis by developing a lower-cost, stripped-down e-car.
Yeah, specifically aimed at reviving the shrinking European small car segment. They are bleeding market share at the entry level, and they know they have to claw it back. The The strategy behind this e-car is fascinating when you dig into the mechanics of it. They are committing to building these vehicles entirely in Europe, specifically at the Pomigliano plant in Italy.
Though isn't that historically where the Seat Panda is made?
Yes, exactly. And the design philosophy is strictly urban. They are keeping the dimensions incredibly compact and ruthlessly simplifying the equipment just to hold the manufacturing costs down.
But there's a hidden layer to this strategy too, isn't there? Like, it's not just about selling a cheap car.
No, it's about emissions math. That's the regulatory angle, and it's critical. The reporting mentions the potential utilization of regulatory supercredits.
Okay, unpack that. What are supercredits?
So, to understand why this matters, you have to look at how emissions regulations work. Automakers are heavily penalized if the average emissions of the total fleet of cars they sell exceed a certain limit. So by producing and selling these small, highly efficient, zero-emission city cars, Stellantis earns supercredits.
Got it.
These credits act as a multiplier. Essentially, selling one cheap little e-car helps balance the regulatory scales, allowing them to continue selling their larger, highly profitable, gas-guzzling vehicles without paying massive government fines.
Okay, so the cheap EV acts as a regulatory shield for the rest of their lineup. That makes total sense. But here is where I completely scoff at their grand strategy.
Oh, why?
The memorable detail in all this reporting is the timeline. Their target launch of this budget e-car is, well, let's just say it is quite a ways out in the future.
Yeah, it highlights just how slowly these legacy giants maneuver.
It's a glaring limitation. The reporting outlines these broad strokes about a cheap city car, but it leaves massive, fundamental questions unanswered. Like, we have no specifics on actual pricing, no details on battery size, and no confirmed range.
Right.
They are promising this magical, affordable EV way down the road, but without knowing if it gets 100 miles of range or 300, it's impossible to judge if it will even be competitive by the time it finally rolls off the line.
And that timeline is especially dangerous because the rest of the world isn't waiting around.
Yeah.
While legacy brands are plotting out their long-term roadmaps, new global contenders are aggressively invading that exact affordability and technology gap today.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the contrast in speed is just staggering. It's honestly like watching a glacier try to race a bullet train.
It really is.
For example, look at what's happening in the UK market. There's deep industry analysis detailing how Changan is executing a shockingly rapid retail expansion over there.
Yeah.
They aren't just putting a few cars on a boat and hoping someone buys them.
No, they are systematically embedding themselves into the entire automotive ecosystem. They are partnering with highly established, well-respected local dealer groups to build immediate trust.
Smart.
They're bringing in two specific electric models, the Deepal S07 and the S05. But the most crucial part of their strategy is the infrastructure they are building behind the scenes.
Right. They co-located a technical excellence center in Birmingham, dropping it right alongside their existing UK research and development operations.
Yeah.
I think they've got like 100 engineers working there.
Yeah.
And they are proactively working with Thatcham Research.
We should definitely touch on why that partnership with Thatcham is so important.
Go for it.
When a new brand enters a market, especially with affordable technology, the biggest hurdle is insurance. If the insurance companies don't understand how the car is built, or if the replacement parts are too expensive to source, they will skyrocket the insurance premiums.
Which totally ruins the affordable price tag.
Exactly. Or worse, body shops will just total the car after a minor fender bender because they don't have the official repair methodologies. So by working directly with Thatcham, Changan is standardizing their repair methods and parts pricing to align perfectly with local UK standards.
So they're ensuring the cars are actually cheap to insure and fix, not just cheap to buy.
Exactly.
It's incredibly smart. But the number that really jumps out, the memorable detail that shows the sheer terrifying speed of this operation, is that Changan has scaled to over 60 dealer sites in an unbelievably short amount of time.
60 physical retail locations in barely any time at all. The implication there should keep legacy auto executives awake at night.
Seriously.
These new entrants are not testing the waters, they are executing an aggressive land grab. They are building physical footprints and training local staff at a pace that legacy automakers simply cannot comprehend, let alone match.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, to play devil's advocate, I have to point out the blind spot in this analysis.
Yeah.
The major limitation of this reporting is that we have no idea if the strategy is actually translating into revenue.
Fair point.
It doesn't disclose any actual sales figures yet. Having 60 beautiful dealer sites and standardized insurance is incredibly impressive, But it doesn't prove that local consumers are actually walking in and driving those cars off the lot.
That is the ultimate test because, you can engineer the perfect $22,000 sedan or you can build 60 rapid deployment dealerships. But eventually, the grand corporate strategy has to survive the dealership floor.
Oh,
And that is where the entire system is bottlenecking.
Here's where it gets really interesting and honestly a little chaotic. Because when the rubber meets the road, these massive affordability strategies are failing at the retail level. And they are failing because of a toxic mix of outdated human training and deeply flawed digital infrastructure.
Let's break down the human element first, specifically looking at the finance office. You know the feeling. You've picked out the car, you're exhausted, and now you have to sit with the finance and insurance manager.
Oh, the dreaded F&I office.
Right. Well, an analysis of dealership operations by Robert Steenberg from AutoPay Plus highlights a counterintuitive reality here. New affordability programs and financial products don't fail because dealership staff are stubbornly resisting change. They fail because of weak, poorly designed training that completely ignores the workflow of an F&I manager.
Yeah, I mean, put yourself in their shoes. It's late, the customer is tired and defensive, and the manager is under immense time pressure to close the deal and move on to the next one. So what happens?
They revert to their old, familiar pitches.
Exactly. They don't introduce new products that might actually help the buyer afford the car because the dealership's internal software, the dealer management system or DMS, is just too clunky. If a new financial product takes 10 extra clicks to integrate into the contract, the manager just skips it.
And crucially, they haven't been given the right conversational tools to explain complex financial products quickly. The analysis provides a fantastic, highly specific example of what good training actually looks like. It's a 60-second pitch.
I love this example.
It breaks down how an F&I manager can explain pay cycle automation in less than a minute.
Yeah, it shows the mechanics of how you actually sell affordability. The script teaches the manager to simply ask the customer how often they get paid. Like, if the customer gets paid bi-weekly, the manager shows them how automating half their car payment to draft every 2 weeks perfectly matches their cash flow.
Which makes it feel so much more manageable.
Right. And mathematically, making 26 half payments a year means they are making 13 full payments. That pays down the principal faster, reduces their overall interest, and just completely eliminates late fees.
And it takes 60 seconds to explain. It's a crisp, clear benefit to the customer. The implication is massive. Without that kind of fluent, bite-sized training, all those projected revenue gains that the executives dream up simply vanish.
Poof, gone.
If the human at the desk cannot confidently explain the financial mechanics in 1 minute, the customer says no, the software gets blamed, and the strategy dies.
But Steenberg's analysis does have a blind spot, and it's a big one.
What's that?
Better training and a slick 60-second script are great, but what this doesn't answer is how to fix the underlying flawed incentive structures that rush these managers in the first place.
Oh, that's true.
If an F&I manager's bonus is tied to churning through as many customers as possible on a busy shift, giving them a better script is just putting a Band-Aid on a structural wound, they are still financially motivated to rush.
Yeah, that tension between speed and quality is baked right into the traditional dealership model. So naturally, the industry looks at this stressed-out human element and asks the inevitable question, can artificial intelligence just do this for us?
And this is where it gets incredibly messy, because everyone wants AI to be the silver bullet. Yeah. But a stark warning from CDK Global suggests that right now, rushing into AI is actually making things exponentially worse. The core issue is something called dirty data. It is actively destroying the return on investment for any AI tool a dealership tries to implement.
The mechanics of dirty data are fascinating and honestly disastrous. Dealerships operate in extreme data silos.
Right.
The sales department uses one software system, the service department uses another, and the finance office uses a third. So if you trade in your older Honda for a new Ford, the sales team knows about it. But the service department system doesn't update.
Oh, no.
This creates phantom leads. The service department will keep calling you, asking you to bring in a Honda you no longer own.
Now imagine feeding that disjointed mess to an artificial intelligence. The memorable detail in this warning is just devastating. Anywhere from 48% to 60% of all dealer data is considered dirty. Wow. Think about the sheer scale of that. More than half of the information a dealership relies on is fragmented, duplicated, or just flat out wrong.
And that leads to a terrifying implication for these businesses. If you layer a high-speed AI agent on top of bad data, it doesn't magically fix the dealership. It just automates and amplifies their operational mistakes at the speed of light.
It's a disaster.
The AI will cheerfully and aggressively text hundreds of customer service offers for cars they traded in a decade ago. It alienates the customer instantly.
So the proposed solution in the report is that dealers desperately need a unified customer data platform, a CDP, to clean and centralize everything. Apparently, 79% of dealers who are actually aware of CDPs say they plan to implement one.
That's a huge percentage.
It is, but you have to look at the reality of what that actually requires. The major limitation of this warning is that it totally glosses over the monumental effort involved. What is the sheer cost and the immense amount of time it will take for an average, chaotic dealership to scrub and unify decades of deeply flawed, handwritten, poorly typed data. It is an operational nightmare.
It's a massive undertaking, and really, it perfectly encapsulates the entire struggle of the auto industry right now.
Let's pull all these threads together. When you look across the entire landscape we've covered, from the manufacturing plants to the showroom floor, three undeniable themes emerge.
Yeah. The first is the supreme power of price. It is the undeniable gravity shaping everything. We see it in the persistent survival of affordable sedans capturing that 15% market share, and we see it in Stellantis desperately trying to strip down an e-car to revive their European entry-level market.
Definitely. Affordability is the single biggest driver of automotive strategy today.
The second theme is the speed of execution, and this is where the market is really fracturing. You have legacy automakers like Stellantis projecting a slow, multi-year runway just to launch a budget EV. Contrast that with the lightning-fast infrastructure build-out by Changan, scaling to 60 retail sites and securing local insurance alignments in a matter of months.
It's night and day. And the third theme is the infrastructure gap. All the brilliant manufacturing in the world means nothing if the retail environment is broken. Having a $22,000 car fails if the dealership's underlying digital data is 60% dirty, as CDK warns.
Right.
And it fails if the human staff cannot adequately explain the financing options, which we saw in the AutoPay Plus training analysis.
Those themes reveal some severe contradictions, too. You have this massive timeline mismatch. It's the glacier versus the bullet train. Legacy brands need ages to adapt, while new entrants need barely any time at all to physically embed themselves in a new country.
Yeah, but to me, the most fascinating tension is the clash between high-tech dreams and high-touch reality.
Absolutely. You have dealership owners dreaming of deploying unified AI profiles and automated digital agents. Yet simultaneously, their flesh and blood employees are currently struggling to execute a basic 60-second human conversation at the finance desk because their software is too clunky.
They're reaching for sci-fi solutions while tripping over basic operational hurdles.
Exactly. So if you are trying to survive this affordability crunch, whether you're an automaker building the cars or a dealer selling them, what is the practical takeaway here?
That's the million-dollar question.
The takeaway is that winning in today's auto market requires extreme, unforgiving synchronization. You have to perfectly align the macro and the micro. On the macro level, you must engineer a compelling, truly affordable vehicle.
Right.
But on the micro level, that engineering marvel is worthless if you don't have perfectly clean, unified CRM data to market it accurately, and a thoroughly trained finance manager equipped with a fluent 60-second script to actually get the customer across the finish line. The metal, the software, and the human being all have to be in perfect alignment.
It is an incredibly delicate balancing act, and the margin for error is shrinking every single day. Thank you for walking through this terrain with me. This has been Auto News Talk.
And I just want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. The next time you walk into a dealership, take a moment to really look around the room.
Oh, for sure.
Because the true negotiation happening isn't just you haggling over the sticker price. There is a silent, invisible battle going on behind the scenes. It's a battle between the AI algorithm desperately trying to make sense of your fragmented data profile and the exhausted human being sitting across the desk from you, just trying to remember their 60-second training script before you walk out the door.
It is a wild dynamic to watch unfold in real time. As a next step, I'd encourage you to keep a close eye on your own local automotive landscape. Watch how quickly these new, affordable brands start popping up and building physical dealerships in your neighborhoods, and compare their speed to the legacy brands you grew up with. The pace of change might just shock you. We will catch you next time on Auto News Talk.